Saying good morning once again to those of you listening to Classic Radio 105.5, 105.9 on the FM dial. Those of you in GBN TV, good morning to you also. Hope all is well. Those of you via social media platforms, good morning, welcome. It's Opposition Tuesday today on the program, and with me this morning representing the opposition party here in Grenada, the New National Party, we have Mr. Nimrod Ollivierre with us this morning. So Ollivierre, good morning, welcome sir. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Good morning, GT. Good morning to you and all your listeners in Radio Land and TV Land and social media. And thank you for having me here. But, before you continue, I just want to take this opportunity to say a heartfelt condolences to the family of our brother Neil Franklin. As we know, he passed away over the weekend, and it's such a tremendous loss. I strongly believe it was a great loss to his local community as well as nationally. He had such potential for great things, and so I pray that the good Lord comfort his mom and the rest of his family as they deal with such a unexpected loss.
All right, thank you so much. Welcome once again. Usually I was like waiting you this morning. I said, usually Mr. Ollivierre will come via the Zoom. So I was actually waiting, then you showed up in person. So it's nice to have you actually on the program. I think the last couple of times I did have you on the program, it was actually via the Zoom platform. So
yes.
It's nice to have you in person here on the program. Brings a better feel for with that one-on-one communication part of it. So welcome once again, sir. I want to start the conversation off this morning on your constituency to play. So let's kick up the constituency that you are caretaker for the New National Party. There's always that talk about youth instability. Especially among the youngsters today in the various, not only the constituency that you caretaker for, but around the island.
Yeah.
That issue about youth. What have you been hearing? The concern, especially from the youth, in terms of the instability. What is driving these issues? What do you been hearing, and how do you think you can address that as it stands right now?
Well, I think the youth instability stems from the fact that there's noted high employment among our youth now. Yeah. Why unemployment has probably always existed among our younger population, especially those just coming out of the secondary school system and TAMCC. I think it has expanded exponentially in the last couple of years, and as a result of that, they're just there. We also have the issue where a lot of the programs were curtailed, right? The Empower, the Imani, the Youth Biz, a lot of them were curtailed. And so there's not a lot of meaningful things for the young ones to get involved with. And they end up on what we may call the block, just hanging out with nothing to do. I believe that, I'm a strong advocate for getting the youths involved in meaningful stuff. And it doesn't always have to be, going back to school and get the degree. But speak to the youths, find out what their passion is, find out what they really want to do. And among them, you might end up getting the best mechanic Grenada ever see, the best electrician, the best plumber. But we have to engage them. I'm in the process of going around the constituency now, and I'm getting feedback. I'm getting complaints and compiling some data and looking to see what can be done.
Yeah. Okay. The government spoken about the current administration has talked a lot about the rate of unemployment has gone down to that level, but you say in terms of the instability of youth, it's have a lot to do with unemployment. So if there's a lower rate of unemployment as the government is featuring, and there's still youth for complaining that the reason for the instability is because of unemployment. Mesh that for those language.
I mean, it's hard to mesh. It's hard to mesh. I mean, perception is reality, right? But it depends on how you take that reality. the government, obviously, I trust that they are looking at data and that they are measuring the data and when they give us that information. But I could tell you, being on the ground in the constituency, it's a whole different fact. Yeah. And that's where I'm basing from. I can speak from what I'm seeing in St. George Northeast, but that sentiment is echoed through the length and breadth of Grenada, because I too talk to other caretakers and I do get calls from outer parishes. People call me on a weekly basis trying to get employment, and they would tell you, well, 5 or 6 or 7 of us there. So again, if it's truly so, then a lot of what we've seen locally in St. George Northeast, you wouldn't be witnessing it. Yeah. And the calls wouldn't be coming. Look, GT, we had a lot of projects. It's no secret. A lot of projects that this administration met was stopped, was curtailed. Whether it's the River Road project, whether it's project in St. George Northeast, and you have young people that you may have a young man or a young lady that's living in St. George Northeast, but they were working in a project in St. George's or Grand Anse or in St. David's, and these projects are now shut down. So you shut the projects down, you provide no alternative means of employment, and yet we are saying that unemployment went down. I mean, I've never seen any data that says we take away employment from people, which means we put them on the breadline, and yet at the same time, simultaneously, the unemployment rate goes down. Yeah. When at the same time, you have new workers entering the workforce. Kids are graduating school. Kids are now becoming of work age. So it may very well be so, but from whatever little data knowledge I have, it's hard to conjure that.
The cost of living is also is a level of concern also. And let's look at it from the constituency that you can take for also. How are families, especially within the Northeast, how are they ruling with that high cost of living, as we would say?
I mean, you started with the youth unemployment, but I think the cost of living is probably the number one thing now as we speak in the society. And again, it's through the length and breadth of Grenada. It's no secret that the cost of goods and services has went up. The basket of goods that we depend on every day, i.e. rice, flour, sugar, butter, milk, and so just for basic subsistence, has gone up. Right? And so, yes, I get the calls, again, on an almost daily basis. I get the call from outer parishes, outer constituencies. And, I tell people, I'll give you an analysis. I tell people, whether people see politicians and they figure, hey, you are supposed to help and you're obligated to help and you have to help. It's neither here. I've been helping even before I got into politics, right? Mm-hmm. And, coming in as a young politician, guys would meet you, people would meet you, and, they ask you for money. They ask you for a change. I tell you right now, the calls that come, people ask for groceries. You know why they ask for groceries? I believe. Because if you give somebody $100 and they had 3 children, you get the call, Mr. Nimrod, I need some help. I had 3 children. I need to get some food for them. So normally they ask, can you give me a change to help me? And in the past, you probably give them $100, $150. You know what they ask you for now? They ask you for some groceries. Because why? If you go in the grocery store with $100, $150, what are you really getting? But if you ask me, the person that I am, I'm going to go in, I'm going to get you some rice, some flour, some sugar, some meat, maybe some pasta, some onion, some garlic, some milk.
Costing you more than $100.
You did maths in school, eh? It's costing you more than that. So you end up spending more than what you normally would have given. I'm here with my 5-year-old son. I only have a 5-year-old son, right? I don't eat meat. I don't eat a lot of stuff. And so it's just basically him. You like eat pasta every now and then. He like a little white rice and so on. And I would go into the supermarket and pick up something pretty much just for... I could just make a punch for the day and I'm good. I drink a fruit punch for the day, I'm good. So it's pretty much for Rodney, my son, 5 years old, but he just turned 6. and you go to the register, stuff that you could carry in your hand, and it's $200 and something, $300. And all I could stand there and think is, oh my God, what about that family that has 3 or 4 kids? How are they making it? How are they making it? I always, I'm kind of lazy, so I don't like to go to the shop or the super every day. So I always used to buy like the 10 pound of sugar, 10 pound packet. I know for a fact that used to be $19.90. Right? Because I buy it quite often to make his juice and make his tea and whatever. And now it's $20-something. In the space of 3 years, almost $5 went up on that price.
What would you base this on? Well, we know a lot of tariffs been applied to various countries by the U.S. and so forth. What do you think that government, being in charge, can do to cushion these effects on regular citizens in terms of minimizing the cost of living on them?
Well, the prices started rising even before the Trump administration came in and the tariffs going on. But I believe government has a fundamental responsibility to cushion these prices. The former administration under the NNP did it. There was a basket of goods that the NNP said, look, whatever, it's like you cap the price, right? So they absorb that loss, right? And you say to the supermarkets and the shop that this is what this is going to sell for. And it was beneficial to the constituents. Because now, your price goes up exponentially, but your salary, your income is the same. So the disposable income that you had, let's say your disposable income that you had for $200, it was $200 for groceries, right? 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, a year ago. Now that same $200 is what you have available for groceries, but your price went up 15, 20, 30%. So you getting almost 30% or 40% less of the groceries that you could have normally buy. So it's a tough decision. It's a tough decision. Just yesterday, I got a call from a young man, no work. And he wanted some help with some medication, some metformin and some insulin. And, the connection was kind of bad. So I said, all right, you know what, no problem. Get back to me today. It was kind of late yesterday. I said, get back to me today and I'll get you the insulin and the metformin. And he said, well, it's on the money, you didn't hear me. And I said, what? He says, oh, and don't forget some groceries too. So, it's the need is out there. And I think the government has a responsibility to seriously take a look at it. And let's try and regulate the prices. Cut the prices if it's tariff. Look, we find monies to do a lot of things. So all the extra monies is taxes that's going into the government coffers. But these taxes are being paid by the civilians. It's civilians' money, citizens' money. We pay taxes for government to function. Your party you belong to as the opposition is all the government. Yes. And you speak a lot of the assistance that you are offering, especially within the constituency that you take for. I mean, how is it possible for you to be doing what you're doing, knowing that is out? I'm assuming none of it is done on a personal level for you, sir. How is it possible? How is it accepted also by the residents who comes to you and asks for those assistance from time to time? Well, before we start, I didn't send the link for my wife, so I hope that she's not listening. But like I said, I've always believed. Look, I was born in Grenada. I left Grenada when I was 19 years old, and I was very fortunate. I went to the United States, and despite, probably having a formal educational background here in terms of, GBSS and IFE and all of that, I started from humble beginnings in the United States at age 19, started working in a restaurant and all of that. And from day one, I've always said that Grenada did a lot for me. Yeah. Grenada prepared me for the world. So I always felt it to give back. And whether it was an NNP administration or NDC administration, I have always given back to Grenada because I strongly believe that Grenada is responsible for who I am, right? Stayed 30-something years in the United States and my accent never changed. Never changed. So, yes, I worked and God bless me. Fortunate, had a good job and made some investments along the way. And so I use my personal resources. Of course, I'm the treasurer in the NMP, and I can tell you there's no finance, right? We are trying to raise finance now. So I use, my personal resources, some of which, should be allocated to my wife and my children. But, when you get the call, look, we are going back to school now. When I leave here, I'm going to go walk the constituency and distribute some school bags. I purchase maybe 200 school bags and some notebooks and pencils, and so, because I know there is a need. So when I get the call, even someone in the constituency called me last night, and they were looking for some assistance. And they probably wanted, I know what they wanted. And I didn't even have all of it, but the last $200 I had in my pocket. I'm sitting here talking to you now, I don't even have a cent in my pocket. I had to go by the bank to get. But the last $200 I had on me, I put it in an envelope and I sent it.
Interesting to note. We drew for a break. Let's take it. When we come back, we continue the conversation. Stay with us, folks. To the point, Classic Radio GBN TV. We will be right back after the break. Don't touch it out.
Served Grenada for decades. We are the #1 and largest electrical supplier.
Hi, welcome to Sunny Electrical. How may I help?
We offer...
Are you ready to take charge of your money, build wealth, and protect your family's legacy? Then join us on October 9th, 2025 at Radisson Grenada Beach Resort for your Financial Future 2.0, Legacy, Literacy, and Liberation, a one-day financial summit designed to break cycles, build wealth, and leave a lasting legacy. You'll gain real-life budgeting hacks, a money mindset reboot, steps to create generational wealth, and practical tips on investing, estate planning, insurance, health, and business finance, all from expert speakers who know how to turn knowledge into action. With 2 inspirational keynotes, 3 powerful panel discussions, and 6 breakout sessions, you will leave with your personalized action plan for success. Don't wait. Secure your seat today. Tickets are EC $350 at disruptiveleadershipconference.com/YFF. Your Financial Future 2.0. Your next chapter starts here.
Something powerful is coming to Glen customers. Smarter service, more convenience, a greener way to connect. Get ready for a better way to manage your electricity service. Coming soon. Glen, empowering you.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewer, and of course, myself and Ollivierre. We're having a little bit of off-air conversation there. Welcome back to the program, sir. Welcome back to our listeners and viewers. I want to jump into this level of conversation in terms of your representation. I want to keep it a wee bit on the constituency for a wee bit. Your representation. How do the people of Northeast, feel about, the current representation that they're having? I want you to talk to me about that and in terms of what they're getting from the current who's representing them currently.
Well, again, being on the ground, talking to the residents, listening, you get the feeling that they almost feel that there's no representation. They tell you bluntly, I've not seen the MP. When I go to the office, he's never available. I will call, no one is answer, and I go there. I sit 3 hours, 4 hours to try to see the MP, to no avail, right? And so you ask, well, hey, is you expressing these concerns to me in terms of lack of whatever is the resource, whatever is the issue you're facing in the community or in your personal life, i.e. your residence or whatever it is. And they're like, nothing. I've been trying. Some say even as long as a year. Some complain that, hey, this was someone prior to the election that I had access to and would call me and I would call them. And since the election, I haven't been able to speak with him or to get an audience. And so you get that, they're not saying, well, hey, we're gonna vote for you in place of, but they're saying that we deserve better representation, So that's the general feeling, that there's a lack of a lack of existence or of the MP within and among the constituency, and when there is cases that requires empathy and caring, there is none, because it's almost absent.
How does that motivate you to continue wanting to represent Northeast?
Well, my motivation never waned. Yes, I lost the election, but my spirit was never dampened, because for me it's always about service, right? Like I said, I've been serving Grenada even before I decided to get involved in frontline politics. There's so much things that I did for this nation that people will be shocked if I said what I did. But for me, it was never about doing and putting it in the front light. I understand politics is... What's the right word? Politics is... part of politics nowadays is show me what you did. But I was always quietly doing behind the scenes. And like I said, whether it's the NNP government or the NDC government, persons don't believe they could talk to members as high as former Prime Minister Tillman Thomas. And so during the 2008-2013 administration, and they could tell you, I've always done, especially for the Royal Grenada Police Force and so, as well as personally. So the motivation for me is service, not so much wanting to win and want it. It's about service and helping the community. And if that transcends into the people recognizing and observing what I'm doing and see, well, hey, this is someone that was always there. This is someone that's there for us now, even when he's not in office. And they decide that this is someone we want to represent us, then to God be the glory. My strength comes from God Almighty. I get up every day. I read my Bible, I write down the scripture that I read, and I go about doing what I have to do in the name of service to the community.
But which would lead me to asking you the question now. What would you do better than the current representation that the folks of Northeast is having right now?
Well, first of all, I think I've already started. I think part of a lot of us politicians, sometimes we don't listen enough. Yeah. Right? And we don't, and by not listening, we don't provide the kind of service that the constituency need. I think oftentimes, sometimes we end up providing services that are not the number one priority for the constituency. So my thing is to listen. Yeah. Be there for the constituents, provide the type of service that they tell you they need. Obviously, you won't be able to satisfy every individual one at the same time, but collectively, So in other words, if 20 people say, hey, we need a bus stop, and 5 people say we need a road, then maybe your priority should be focused on the bus stop as opposed to the road. Not to say that you wouldn't do the road, but you have to listen to the greater people. So my aim, my goal is to be of most service-oriented and to be intertwined and in between the constituents. I've already, even before the election, I didn't put it out there, but I had residence property within the constituency, and so I've already started, and I intend to be there. I want you to talk to me, to let me know what the issues are, and then see how best we can try and alleviate and take care of some of these issues.
Northeast is not a small constituency.
No, it's not.
It's not a small constituency. There's lots. If someone who knows the constituency and I see you from time to time, you're doing the walkabouts and all of these things. Now, if you in a nutshell, you can put it. What are some of those that major concerns you've been hearing about? Yes, we spoke about this. We spoke already, of course, the representation. We spoke about that. We spoke about the youth part of it. We spoke in terms of the cost of living. But there's still something that would stand out a whole lot for you as concerns from residents. What are those concerns you've been hearing a whole lot?
Well, the overall, like I said, we spoke about all the other things, and of course the economic part of it, cost of living, I think is number one. But one of the other major concerns is overall community development, right? There were a number of projects within the constituency that was at the time of election undergoing. For instance, let's start with the Willis Bridge and Bypass Road. That was a major project in the community, right? And it employed a lot of the local citizens, and it brought economic progress or economic benefits to the residents. That was stopped. I spoke about it in a video maybe about 6 months ago, and immediately the MP and I believe the Prime Minister would have engaged residents and informed them that the project will start back. To date, 6 months later after I did that video, nothing. The Vendome playing field, right, is another one that I spoke about maybe back in February, March. And, you got some criticism, and they say you're only calling out what the government is not doing. And what would I do? Well, I don't have the resources as much as I would like to. I don't have the resources to fix the Vendome playing field. And it's a government project. I can't just go and do it, right? Again, that is going on about 3 years. I spoke about it immediately after. The MP engaged the residents and assured them that the project would be continued. Yes, there was some movement. You know what the movement they had? There was some heavy rollers and maybe a backhoe and a tractor on the playing field. They went and moved it. 2 days later, I had senior persons in the ministry contacted me and say, thank you for speaking out. 2 days later, after I spoke about it, they went and they moved the heavy equipment. That heavy equipment has since been replaced with a set of pipes and wires. Across from the Vendome playing field is a school. And it's unfair that school, the children of that school, had to get in a bus and go to Boussejou to have their games. 2-3 years now. Right? So I was not speaking out about these things in the constituency that brought economic benefit to the residents because I wanted to, but because the residents were complaining. Let's take your alma mater, Boca playing field. You know how important that playing field is because I believe you went to the school, if my memory serves me correctly.
It was not much use back then.
But over the years, it has came into great use or greater use, right?
Makes me sound kind of old, eh?
Both of us. But it's very important. And Boca Secondary is a juggernaut when it comes to sports in Grenada right now. We have to give them that. Sports as well as the engineering part, the technical thing. I applaud that school every time for that, right? But whether it's basketball, athletics, soccer, Boca Secondary is there, right? And the playing field is right there. It has great use. The basketball court is right there. I personally had used some of my personal funds to do some work on that basketball court some years ago, maybe 2020, 2021, right? Personal funds. Now, again, I spoke about it. The MP had a meeting in the school and promised the resident that stuff would start within a month. It's 5 months later. Nothing. The playing field is still incomplete. The basketball court is still incomplete. So I believe these things that are tangible, that the residents can see and attribute to community development would play an important role in giving people a sense of dignified hope.
But you would understand some of the bureaucracy that takes place for especially for MPs and individuals within governments. You understand the slow process and some of the things will take place. Well, so that I guess you will understand it from that point.
Well, I understand, but I also understand that That's why the St. George Northeast needs better representation, because the parliament, being a parliamentarian is one thing.
Yeah.
But being in the cabinet, where the decisions are made as to who gets what piece of which pie for what project, is very important. And the current MP that we have now do not sit in the cabinet, as far as we know, because he was relieved of his cabinet post to go back to school, right? So, not being at that table where we say, all right, we have, I don't know, $10 million for projects. And if you're not there at that table to advocate for your people, what happens? So I believe representation is reflective not only of the parliamentary level, but of the cabinet level. You should be able to sit at the table to advocate for those that voted for you to represent them. Because at the parliamentary level, what are you really, So I think that is important, and I do believe that that has something to do as to why we are seeing so many unfinished and incomplete projects within St. George Northeast.
All right. We're due for a break. Let's take it when we come back. We certainly have much more to talk about. Stay with us, folks, to the point. Classic Radio GBN TV. We're looking at 25 minutes moving up before the 10 o'clock hour. We'll be right back after the short break. Don't touch it out.
Sunday, November the 9th from 5 p.m. at the Grenada Trade Center. Legends Promotion presents the 19th annual Hubbard's Legends in Concert featuring the best of Grenada, along with 2 special guest artists. This edition promises to be extra special. Get ready, Grenada, to be blown with surprises at the 19th annual Hubbard's Legends in Concert. Sunday, November the 9th, 5 p.m. Grenada Trade Center. Stay tuned to GBN for more. Ready? The biggest party in sports is back. It's Republic Bank CPL 2025. Bowls off August 14th to September 21st. 34 matches, 6 teams, 6 nations. Pure Caribbean cricket frenzy. From big sixes to deadly yorkers, catch every boundary, every wicket, every moment. Live on GBN TV and Classic Radio. This is not just cricket. This is CPL 2025. Don't miss a ball.
GBN's broadcast of CPL 2025 is made possible by Republic Bank, Hubbard's, Glen, Echo Blue Limited, Bravo Mutual Life, Answer Coatings, and Flow.
Like a freestyle, the life block flowing mile by mile. It's legacy, a beat that don't stop like Bob Marley say. One love on top, BCUH water out of sight, but it's always wrong, don't lose the light. From factories and wells so deep, corals, mangroves and fish they weep. Green water for the garden, keep it green. Save the cash and the earth gets clean. We use the water with a mindful mind. It's out of sight but never far behind. In nature, the answers always flow. Like water running pure, the cycle grows. It renews itself, same drop, same beat. It's all good, man, you got the heat. Water flow, water flow. No clean water, no vibes to grow. Protect our water, protect our future.
Time to go.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. With me this morning, we have Mr. Nimrod Ollivierre with us this morning, caretaker for St. George's Northwest?
Northeast.
Northeast, yes, St. George's Northeast. With me this morning. Of course, Mr. Welcome back once again. We in the last conversation, we spoke a lot about projects that was incomplete, especially within the constituency. You spoke about things within the constituency you'd like to see more happen and so forth. Now, There's always the area of things being prioritized. What do you think should be given more priority in terms of, especially with, infrastructure and development of the constituency? You seem to be passionate about things that are incomplete, things that you should have seen more done and so forth within the constituency. But why do you think the priority is not given as much as it should for certain projects?
Well, I believe the priority should be to bring economic relief to the residents. And how do we do that? On a national level, try and lower the price, but locally, come up with projects or continue these projects that did bring some economic benefits. I'm not even advocating to say, well, come with new projects, because there are a number of projects that are there. We all know how this administration feel about the beautifying of our roadside, i.e. the debushing, things like that. Because not just a lot of the mom and pop shops that were within the community that provided the services of a pound of flour, a pound of rice, a pound of sugar, they're closed. Because the persons that were doing these jobs that were getting, the fortnightly pay or whatever, we all know where they went and spent the money. It's just a cycle. No one was really. It's a cycle of income throughout the community.
It goes from one place.
It goes from one place to another. So you provide the service, you get this. You turn around and provide that, I get that, But when you don't have that income, if the key component is not there, the income is not there. So we need to provide economic stability or economic input to the residents. That's what we're getting. We need to have programs that the youths are involved in where they can get some income, right? Because, listen, our parents always tell us idle hands is the devil workshop, right?
Yes.
So if you have young people just there, and they had to survive, they had to eat, they had to get clothes, how you expect for them to get the money? Because if you're standing there and after a month, 2 months, 3 months, nothing happening, you might tend to go into illegal activities, right? Whether it's to sell weed, sell drugs, firearms trade, whatever, right? So you need to provide meaningful ways by which income can be provided to our residents.
I want to just switch the conversation just a wee bit. I know you originally from the Grand Mall, Cherry Hill area, and so forth up there. We know there's been some development taken there lately, and there's been some talk of the residents being unhappy with it. What's your take on the situation there, sir? How do you feel about that? Well, one of the major establishments want to do some, and the beach and so forth that folks use a whole lot for health benefits and other recreational purposes. It's been, interfered with.
Yes.
It's a simple way of saying it. What's your take on that situation, and of course, how do you think that could be remedied in the soonest? So,
yes, coming from Mardi Gras originally and growing up in Fontenoy, Grand Mall area, I am saddened by the development that I saw with that beach.
I don't think you're against development.
I definitely, I say on the beach, specifically what happened on the beach. Definitely we need development within the community, and I believe it's a positive by the company to invest but the steps that they took to dump these big boulders on the beach, I cannot support, and I would not support, because I know firsthand. I actually volunteered to coach soccer there on Saturday morning with the young ones.
Okay.
So I'm in that area there almost weekly, and a lot of the kids when they finish soccer, they will go right there. Mind you, Grand Mall, I want you to think about that. Grand Mall playing field is the only playing field throughout Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique that has a beach next to it. Do some research.
That's true. That's true.
Right?
That's true.
So, the residents, the community take great pride in that beach. And for the company to not engage the resident and go ahead and do that, it was heartbreaking. So I do trust there's a meeting this morning, 10 a.m. in the ministry, and then I believe there is one followed up with the company, and I do hope that we can find some amicable way of taking this. I do tell you, the residents are up in arms, and they would not sit back quietly and let the beach be destroyed. Right? There's other ways that that wall that the company is saying that they're trying to protect. It was there through storm surge. I grew up with that wall there. Spent almost 50 years living in that area, and that wall was there. It survived through storm surge. It survived through every hurricane. So to say that you have to put rocks, big stones, as we know them, on the beach to protect the wall, we have a lot of ingenuity in the world today, and so they will have to find another way in which to do it. So I support the young men and the residents of the community that are speaking out against that, and I trust that some amicable solution would be reached. The people of the area, Grand Mall and surrounding area, supports the company, and happy for the investment that the company has made in the community. But this one, with the rocks being put on the beach, is a no-no.
I'm hearing some information currently about you having a particular meeting tomorrow in a constituency. Tell us a wee bit about that. What can we expect?
Yes, so as you know, the new National Party now is on the way to having community meetings. I believe the first one was in Byland sometime last week, and I have the second one, we have the second one on Wednesday in Vendome Junction. And we just want residents to come out and listen to us, listen to the vision. It's not about saying, what this administration is doing, but rather putting it to you what we will do when we win the next general election. So we are encouraging all the residents of Vendome and the surrounding area to come out here, hear the political leader, Honorable Emin Pierre, the chairman, Honorable Dr. Keith Mitchell, former Prime Minister, myself, as well as a few other young dynamic speakers. So we're looking to see a great majority of persons there, right there in Vendome Junction, and weekly, every Wednesday we will be having such meeting.
Okay, great. Okay, I wish all success for that, folks. In this segment, this is where we're going to take some calls from our listeners and viewers over there. If you do have a question or two you may like to ask, feel free to do so in this segment. I beg of you to keep your contribution as minimal, just your question, and move on so we can accommodate as many callers as possible. Let's take our first caller for this morning. Caller, you're alive. Good morning and welcome.
Yes, good morning to everyone. I want to comment Brother Nimrod Ollivierre on to the last statements that some of the last statements that he made coming to the young people. We're calling on the government to do more for the young people. That was under the former administration, they had a lot of programs to uplift young people. You get a stipend, you pay them to learn. So you teach the young people to fish, right? So when they have a second chance to gain employment, and some took advantage of it. Some even take advantage because they have scholarships. They go to TAMCC. Some of them are managers of banks, qualified teachers who I know, right? So when you give these young people, you invest into these young people, and you put all the effort into them. You're not leaving them behind, because when you leave them behind, what you have? Idle hands for the IZW workshop, and they will get involved into illegal substance. So calling on the administration to do more for young people. It is not about politics, but it is about nation. And when you do that, you have a build-up in a nation, build business. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, caller. Any response to the caller? I thought he was straightforward enough.
He was pretty much very straightforward, and again, we are committed to doing the work. We owe it to our young people to engage with them and to help them along the way.
There's a comment here from someone on the WhatsApp, and I want to get a feedback from you. Someone is saying, Mr. Ollivierre, the history about Boca playing field, they're saying that it dates back to 1985. All right? And that's when George Brison started that particular upgrade. The project was abruptly stopped. He wants to know who stopped it and why. I'm not sure if you have that information. And he's saying after 23 years of the new National Party rule, there was no development there. We would like you to answer those.
So obviously, the history of that texter on WhatsApp is flawed. If he says that it was started in 1985 by George Brishan, that is so. That would be under NNP administration. I'm not sure who stopped it, because 1985 the NNP won election in 1984, right?
Yeah.
Right. So if he's
1984,
yeah,
is it the NNP or
1984 was
that's after the invasion?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Was it not the NDC?
George, where did George Brisson and so came out from? Right. When was the NDC formed? NNP was formed in 1984.
Yeah.
Right. NDC was a couple of years later when Brisson and Alexis and so separated. Right. Yeah. That's the history. So we got right. But so that being said. But to say that nothing was done in 23 years, we know that that's a talking point of the NDC sympathizers. That's not true. And if you're going to say, well, NNP didn't do anything in 23 years, tell me what did the NDC did in the 13 years that they were in power. But to say that nothing wasn't done in 23, when election was held in June of 2022, there was an ongoing project in the Boca Plainfield area. That project, I could tell you, I was not an elected member of parliament, but I was doing work in the constituency, and I know for a fact sometime in 2021 a project was started there. It took us into the election of June 2022, and that project was stopped after the election. So to sit there and say that nothing was done by the NNP in the last whatever years is a blatant lie. Okay. There's the project, the unfinished projects that, and I mean, but it's basic common sense. If I'm saying that there's a project there that's unfinished is the word that I used. When I did the video, I called it out as being incomplete. So then who started it?
All right.
It's simple, you know.
Let's take another caller. Caller, live. Good morning. Welcome.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning to you, sir. Let's hear your contribution.
Good morning to Mr. Ollivierre as well. There was just some things. I mean, we all aspire for politics and whatever portfolio we may be aspiring for. We all have to make our debate in order to get where we need to get. However, I'm going to, as someone within the New Hampshire area, and I'm going to speak from a New Hampshire perspective, saying that shops close down and the people who depend on the roadworks and so forth ain't getting through with the roadwork, that's a lie. I could say that from my perspective, but I'm standing right by Miss Peter's shop right now. And I just come from completing road work, in the same road debushing work that everybody does talk about. And in 2022, I voted in New National Party. So New National Party people, we get in work. And me and myself and another female. Now, in the Northeast area, as we speaking of the Northeast area, the you can write off the honorable, what's his name, Redhead for some incomplete projects, as you're saying, and then you on, in some other instances, belittling Mr. Ron Redhead. Now, government's supposed to be a continuum. We understand that. And the honorable MP got an opportunity to make good on, and so far he is doing his best. Now, we had Tobias Clemens, and regrettably I had to vote for that guy. And this guy literally did nothing for 10 years. He didn't really do nothing to impact the Northeast. Could there be more being done? Yes, more could be done. I have a sister who's working in the Imani program, and I didn't even believe that she was working for $700 and she got an increase to $1,200. I didn't even believe NDC would have done that. So it shows government has the good and you have areas that they have to work on. Now, belittling someone because they're younger, and I'm going to be honest as a young person, and I hope the NMP executive could listen my call here. I was hoping that the New National Party in the convention that was held, I was hoping to see more young people be in leadership position. And I'm not writing off anyone, but I'm saying it as it is. I was hoping to see, just as how we got a cast from the NDC, where the Prime Minister must have come in his 40s, I was hoping that the New National Party would have went out there and get someone, because there's a lot of people out there who's qualifying of young people to take on that portfolio. But I guess as much they was not engaged enough to get people to do that. And secondly, we out here, Mr. Ollivierre, you pass through the community a lot, and you know, sometimes I miss you based on how you pass through. But I wish I could have met with you to engage that further with you, that the new National Party should have worked on cleaning out, get rid of a lot of the people on the executive and bring in more young people to bring in fresh ideas. Because I will tell you, the leadership of a party determines how the party goes. And if you have a leadership that is still, I should say, in the 90s, then we're going to continue with the 90s. For example, there's a lot of things that I wouldn't write off the NDC. It's not my party of choice, but there's a lot of good things that they are doing.
Caller, I'm going to actually take another 10 seconds and wrap, please, because you...
Sure thing. Let me wrap up, GT. So what I'm saying here to Mr. Ollivierre, this is things that the new National Party should consider. Consider bringing in young people who could bring their ideas and transform the party. And I'm not saying to have them sidelined, have them second to other people. They should have that opportunity. The leadership of the new National Party should have been in their 40s. Come the next election, Ms. Pierre is going to be 52. And we need people with bright ideas to come through. So, Mr. Ollivierre, I'm just saying it out. And personally, I find that you should run for Northwest. You have more base in Northwest. The NMP should consider putting you in Northwest and look for somebody else for Northeast. That's my contribution.
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Anything you want to say from somebody?
Thank you, caller, and thank you for supporting the new National Party as you claim. I think maybe you should take a look at the executive of the new National Party, because the new National Party executive is very young. All right, of the whatever, 7-8 members in the executive, maybe 4 or 5 is under 40 years old. So I don't know what you're looking at as seeing the executive. And as you know, Sister Pierre, Honorable Emin Pierre, just celebrated our 50th birthday. Our current Prime Minister is about 47, going to be 48 probably this year. So I'm not quite sure, where you're going with that with the young people. And as much, yes, there has to be a balance. As I'm 50. I'm low 50. I still consider myself young, not because I retired from the NYPD. I started early. I had to work for 20 years, and then I retired to continue giving my service to Grenada. I don't know. I don't know what specifically you were looking for, but I would love to meet you and have an engagement. And the point that you made, I never said that all shops were closed. I said that some shops, it's a fact. Some of the local shops, not just in St. George Northeast, throughout Grenada, has closed since the last election because we know they were, pretty much as we would say, they were turning a hand. And I guess the hand stopped turning, so they had to close them. That's a fact. It's not debatable. Yes, so you might have been currently standing by a shop. And those that are able to stay the grind and to provide that service, I commend them and I applaud them. I would be out in the constituency today, so you could look for me, and I would definitely love to meet you. It's also a fact that this administration did cut back on the amount of the bushing that they are providing throughout the length and breadth of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. The amount of bi-weekly slots has been slashed. It was part of the budget. All right, so we cannot run from the facts. We call it out. All I'm simply saying is we need more so that it could provide more of an income for our people.
We do have another caller. Caller via WhatsApp. Good morning, and thanks for your patience. You're welcome.
Hello, thank you, Mr. GT, and thank you, Mr. Ollivierre. Mr. Ollivierre, your philanthropy, examples of your philanthropy well noted, and kudos to you. And the point I want to make is that we all at some point in time will need help from one another, whether it's financial, emotional, etc.
Caller, once again, I'm not sure if your Bluetooth device or something or the other, but we're not getting a clear audio from you. If you could have that sorted out.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me better?
Go right ahead, please.
Now? Yeah, Mr. Ollivierre, your philanthropy examples are noted, and I think it's nice to have someone to reach out and help people, whether it's financially, emotionally, and so on, because we all need some help at some point in life, for whatever reason. we do know that we have a problem in Grenada, and you specifically mentioned about helping with the groceries, with the high cost of groceries. You mentioned flour, rice, pasta, and so on. I was looking to hear about local products. Green bananas, they are nutritious, and imported stuff are not necessarily more nutritious than the local stuff. Sweet potato, we have cassava, corn. I mean, we have all the stuff. I remember as a kid, we did not even have any piece of land, but a resident in the village gave us a little plot, and we will be growing corn flour right next to our yard, to our house. We'll be having growing potatoes, yam, and the yam banks, and so on. And even during the major strike in Grenada, when rice and so on were cut off, we didn't go hungry. We were eating what you call poor people food, which nowadays people regard as very nutritious. So my thing is, when we helping people, I think part of helping people is empowering people. There are some people who are incapacitated, an elderly person with a stroke, bedridden, neck, and a wheelchair, etc. Yes, and we don't go about blaming people and say, well, you should have done better in your life. It is what it is, and we do the right thing and help people out. But when you're looking at young, able-bodied people, we should be empowering them so that they can become independent on their own and not facilitate a culture of dependency. So I'm still waiting to hear what you're doing in that regard. So rather than just paying $200 for groceries and those kind of stuff to buy pasta and rice and flour and sugar. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much for your contribution this morning. Respond to the caller,
Caller, I wholeheartedly agree with you. Just to let you know, so like the reference I made, with the pasta and all of that, I say for my 6-year-old son. My favorite food, I could eat it 7 days a week. Fig and saltfish sauce and a little oil long. I don't eat meat. I don't eat red meat, no chicken, no none of that. So if I do make a oil long, it's with piece of fish or piece of saltfish. But I agree with you. I believe in the local products. But at the same time, we have to recognize, if somebody asks you for help and you kind of ask them, well, what they need, and they tell you what they need. Yes, I do have a responsibility to try and educate them that they should, use more the local products, the yam and the fig and the blogger and all of that. But at the same time, I can just buy what I want and throw it up on them. But I hear your plea, and so I will make it part of my as I go forward to try and educate more, and even with the engagement with the youth. And some of them I do ask, well, do you have some land, that you can make some garden, and some do. Don't get me wrong. It's some do have land, or they would say that yes, I don't have, but a parent family member have, and I would say ask, and I could probably help you get some seeds and some gardening equipment. But I thank you, and I encourage points like that so that I can help better serve the people that I come into contact with. Right. I appreciate it.
We do have one more caller, which will be our final caller for the morning. Caller, you're live. Good morning. Welcome.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Nimrod, good morning. I'm from St. George's Northeast, right? And I've been following you on your page and everything. And most of the time, I see that you in places that roam shop with wrong people, and who not drunk, they don't have the head is not right. You need to get positive people to go to speak with who will make a meaningful contribution for the St. George's Northeast. Too often you deal with the people that drinking rum and getting on. You made a video up in Montparnasse, right, in the coconut. And this is where the rum people always be. You need to come to the different places and speak to people who can make a meaningful contributions for the St. George's Northeast, because we have a representative. Yes, we just have the same, but at the same time, that doesn't matter other people. You see, so you need to break that cycle of the rum shop kind of thing and come out and meet with meaningful people who is not drunk in Vendome and wherever. Some of them, the head don't even right, because I know them, right? So you have a blessed day, and just take my simple advice. Break that cycle and come out from around the rum shop kind of thing and come out and meet with meaningful people that you all could have a good conversation. Thank you. Have a blessed day.
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much. Ollivierre.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your input. But just know, listen, I'm out there. I don't always put out all the I don't always record everyone I come into. I put out all the contacts that I'm out there. If you notice, in the same Mount Parnassus area, there's about 3 or 4 videos that I put out, but you zoned in on that one. Look, everybody is a part of society, right? Whether you might believe that they are drinking rum, and but I still have a responsibility to engage them because they're somebody's brother, somebody's husband, somebody's uncle, and if you're going to care, you got to care for all. Just like I go to church on a Sunday, and oftentimes I go to church every Sunday, a different church in the constituency, and I don't put out a video from it, right? And maybe I didn't knock on your door yet, but I assure you that I will knock on your door because I do have a pledge to knock on every door in St. George Northeast and to listen to everyone. So I would not skip anyone, even if we feel that you might be surprised. Some of the most meaningful conversations that I have regarding as to what's going on politically and economically is from the guys that on the block that you might think engage in negative behavior, and sometimes all they need is somebody positive to talk to. And for those that you might deem what's in the rum shop, I don't discriminate against anyone. I am a ghetto youth. I grew up poor and humble in Grenada, and I would never ever forget where I came from.
So that's what we're going to kick a wrap for today's edition of To The Point. Anything in closing before we take a wrap today? I
just want to say to everyone, thank you for tuning in and listening to me. I know that all of us had a very enjoyable carnival season, and I want to thank the citizens. I want to thank our GPF for working hard to ensure us that we had a safe carnival. And now as we get ready to go back to school, let's make sure that our young ones stay focused, pay attention, and we help them along. When I leave here now, I have some book bags and so that I'm going to throw the constituency to try and help those that wasn't able to get some book bags and some notebooks and rulers and pencils and so. And again, I just want to invite everyone in the St. George Northeast area to come out to a meeting at the Vendome Junction tomorrow, please God, Wednesday the 27th.
So, Nimrod, I want to thank you once again for being on today's edition of To The Point. It's a pleasure having you on the program. So until we do this again, have yourself a good one.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Hey, folks, that's how we're going to take a wrap for today's edition of To The Point. Join me again tomorrow for another edition. That's why I'll say goodbye for today.
Commentator Willis in St. George. Willis, people, are you inside the place? Coming to do a song entitled